Hello and welcome back to the Astronomican, the Eternal Crusade Show. As we head through development, more and more people are going to be learning about the Eternal Crusade, and I really wanted to make a video specifically aimed at newcomers to Eternal Crusade. I wanted to make something as a point of reference for newcomers to learn the basics about what Eternal Crusade is all about. So if you've been following Eternal Crusade for a while now, you will not hear anything new in what I'm about to talk about, but you can use this video as a tool to introduce more people to the Eternal Crusade, so feel free to share the video as you will. So let's get started. The Eternal Crusade is essentially a third-person shooter, massive multiplayer online game with RPG elements. Eternal Crusade is set in the universally popular universe of Games Workshop's iconic franchise Warhammer 40,000. The game itself is set on the world of Arcona, and there'll be 4 playable factions at launch vying for control. The game is intended to not be too dissimilar from EVE Online's way of a persistent single server, meaning everyone plays on the same server. Warhammer 40,000, or Warhammer 40k for short, is a tabletop miniature war game started in 1987 by Games Workshop. It's set in a sci-fi fantasy dystopian future of the 41st millennium. Since its original founding, Warhammer 40,000 as a franchise has expanded into a massive IP consisting of tabletop miniatures, books, novels, games, and more. The IP itself is deep and rich, and is filled with fantastic races and a very rich lore. Eternal Crusade is being developed by Behaviour Interactive's new studio, Behaviour Online. Spearheaded by studio head Miguel Caron and creative director David Gosland, the Behaviour team is comprised of an array of talent, including developers that have worked on games such as Age of Conan, EVE Online, and Secret World. Behaviour themselves are the largest independent Canadian developer and were originally founded in 1992. The developers themselves have opted for a rare no firewall between the devs and the fans, meaning that the developers talk to the players directly instead of via a PR medium. The game itself is not too dissimilar from THQ's Space Marine title, sharing much of its combat mechanics and look. Of course, this isn't just a massively multiplayer Space Marine, this is an MMO, and there will be plenty to do around in the game, as well as explore and fight. The game itself doesn't have traditional questing, instead opts for a campaign system. At the start of any given campaign, the leaders of your faction will assign both primary and secondary objectives. Over time, and once the campaign is over, your faction will move to another continent and a new campaign will begin. Your success or failure on the previous campaign objectives will have an impact on future campaigns. For example, should you take a primary objective in the last campaign that was a manufactorum that gave the ability to produce a certain type of vehicle, that vehicle will then be able to requisition in the following campaign. Well, yes and no. While the combat itself is a shooter, the Eternal Crusade also has heavy RPG elements. The game will have character progression, weapon customization, and armor progression. In terms of character progression, players will have progression trees that they are able to progress in, and on top of that there will be loot in the game, so you have a variety of equipment and armor available at your disposal. Characters don't level in the traditional sense either. Instead, as you unlock new specializations through your progression tree, you'll gain access to a wider variety of skills and specializations. RPG elements will also affect the combat. For example, you can aim in any direction and shoot away. However, the spread of your shots comes from a variety of factors, including what kind of gun you're using, its upgrades, and the accuracy stat of your character. The races currently set for launch are the Space Marines, the Chaos Space Marines, the vile greenskin hordes of the Orcs, and the glorious Eldar. No, although PvP is the major focus of the game, there will be instance PvE called Underworlds, where you and a group of people can go and fight against hordes of Xenos known as Tyranids. Doing PvE instances isn't just a separate thing. In fact, it will benefit your faction in some way. The developers are designing the game in such a way that each component of the game, whether it be PvE, PvP or crafting, not only complements each other but also almost works symbiotically. The game itself is set to be a premium game with a free-to-play option being the Orc Boys. There will be an in-game store, however the developers assured us that it will be in no way pay to win. The game store itself will actually be filled with cosmetic items and consumables that aren't necessary for the experience. The game is currently set for a 2015 release, with both prior to that being open and closed beta phases. The game is primarily being developed for PC, but the developers are building the game so that they can easily port it to both the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. However, whether the game will actually come to those consoles is as of yet unclear, as it depends on what kind of business deal both Sony and Microsoft offer behaviour. And that about covers the basics of the Eternal Crusade. I'll leave links in the description below so you can go and view the main website and the forums to get more information. You can also view my ongoing series called the Astronomican to get all your latest information for the Eternal Crusade. So thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe and leave a comment. Please do share the video with everyone you can, and I'll see you next time.